Welcome to Those Who Do Podcast, a podcast about people, their passions, their vocations, their interests, and their lives. I'm Zach Barclay, here with the Steve Martin, to my Craig T. Nelson, Tony Forsmark. Jorge Garcia is an actor known for Lost, Alcatraz, Hawaii Five-0, The Munsters, and The Ridiculous Six. Most importantly, Jorge is a husband and a father to a 22-month-old little girl. David Greenspan is an editor and director known for Grey's Anatomy, Station 19, and How to Get Away with Murder. He is most importantly a husband and the father of a 13-year-old son who has starred for 6 years on a network sitcom, as well as 10-year-old and 7-year-old boys not involved in the entertainment business at all. This is Those Who Do, Fatherhood, with Jorge Garcia and David Greenspan. Enjoy.
I'm unprepared.
Yes, I fucked up the story.
We're recording right now, and I'm really nervous.
I mean, you're on one today, buddy. Oh, God. So, headphones, no headphones, it's totally up to you guys.
Yeah, so this is Zach. He's my engineer.
Is that kind of like, do you go to Iowa State? Is that kind of like that joke? Are we going to keep doing it over and over?
Actually, it's the first time I've said it in front of other people.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
What are the bottle caps?
Those were Lagunitas, little something from last night that I forgot to throw away. Now apparently I'm emotionally attached to them.
I mean, we can nighttime podcast this all day, man.
No. We are back with another episode of Those Who Do. Today we're here with David Greenspan and Jorge Garcia, and this one's going to be a little different because it's kind of more of a roundtable. All of us, Tony and I included, we're all parents, we're dads, and we're just going to kind of sit around and talk about our different experiences with being parents and parenthood and dadding and how our parenting styles, which I imagine are probably all very different, were informed by how we were parented, or in my case, maybe not parented at all, and just kind of see how that develops. The idea of this show is kind of just to illustrate how people, and that everybody has different life experiences and stuff, and that what it is that we do is informed so much by the people that we are. So that's kind of what we want to hopefully pull out in the conversation today is that
the personalization.
People. Yeah, absolutely. That's how people.
Very heady.
Yeah, well, I know. I'm just trying to figure out why we can't get along.
You and me? 25 years of conflict.
Not enough peopling.
No, I mean, people are people, so why should it be them?
Right.
I get we're all at different stages of dadding.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we're closer.
Yeah. He's done it twice.
Yeah. I'm on my second round. So I've got a 26-year-old that's getting married Friday. A 23-year-old. He turns 23 at the end of the month. Who's a paramedic, and then I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's exhausting, brother. It's
right. I mean, that's a good way to start. I mean, I've got 2 weeks from a 14-year-old.
No.
And a 10-year-old.
I have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old.
And I have a 21-month-old.
Yeah. So we are really all in different, unique, very unique stages.
Stage where you had to say months, and it's very confusing. I have an almost 2-year-old. It's really
it gets easier. You don't have to count them anymore.
And I will say, for me, that was my favorite age. Like, it was so fun because, like, you're their world. 2, they don't really have anything to argue about yet. They still kind of believe you and look to you for safety and knowledge and stuff. And the moment that switch clicks off, it's hell on earth, man. It's almost scary.
I have a friend who just had a kid in January, and we were just talking this morning, like texting each other, and because of Halloween prep things, and I had this incident at the house where the kid's into kitties apparently, and we don't own cats. I keep trying to push her dog stuff.
Every time we FaceTime, she just blows up when a cat comes by. It's like,
I added a couple blow molds to the collection, and one of them is a cat with a witch's hat on, and the box shows you what it is. So as soon as it arrived, it was like, kitty, open. So I pulled it out, and I discovered that it was damaged, like part of the paint job along the face was completely gone.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh shit. So I can we say
Yeah,
shit?
absolutely.
And so I had to take it from her because I ran to exchange it at the Michaels, and that made her cry because I took her kitty away. So then I was like, I broke out a different kitty that I also had bought for, her Halloween this year. And that was one of those blow up, light up ones. I kind of let that go. And while that was distracting her, I ran to Michael's. But then I sent a video to a friend of mine, and it's her carrying that blow mold kitty around with her. And it's as tall as she is, and so she's picking it up and carrying it like she's her walking around the driveway with it. And he was like, I can't wait till mine gets to that age. And I was like, it'll happen faster than you know. I mean, the first 2 years, so much happens so fast as far as development, and suddenly you're like, did you teach her that word? Where did she get that word from? And that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and we had my oldest daughter. We have a place back home. It's Menards, but it's Home Depot, Lowe's. It's the same type of place. And we were
funnier sounding.
Yes. Menards. If you would have seen the commercials in the 80s, they were choice. We were going through the store one day, and the blow mold owls that are supposed to keep pigeons and stuff off your house.
Yeah.
She found one and fell madly in love with it. So she slept with that thing for like 3 weeks, and it has this like super sharp hooked beak on it, and it's like it is like 2.5 foot tall
from the blow mold.
Yeah,
the seam too.
I have like one of those cats, also kind of like designed to scare critters away.
Yep. Right.
The whatever the plastic eyes have popped off it already, and most of the paint job's gone, but she walks around the backyard with it. She finds it and goes, oh, kitty, and she does like this like as if she's nuzzling her face on its face. And she picks up and walks around. Like, I feel like I need to redo the paint job on it.
just for
replace the eyes, because I went looking to see if they for another one of such a thing exists, but I haven't found it.
Does she have like a stuffy that's like she's inseparable from? That would be a tragedy if it went missing.
My wife took a trip to Austria, and I had to kind of single dad it for about 10 days, and the drive back from the airport, we took her to the airport for the goodbyes and stuff, and that was a mistake. And the drive back was kind of a fiasco. We thought distracting her with tablet videos would
suffice,
would work, but I believe that just kind of made her car sick, and she threw up a couple times.
Oh my god!
Which I've been there. I mean, when he told me that, I was like, "Yep, that so is the worst."
And so just like when my wife and I, we went to a wedding about a month before. This is the first time people were going to come and babysit, and where the bedtime routine was going to be part of it. And we were going to leave before bedtime, because the only other times that we'd left the house was she was already in bed, and we just had someone at the house to kind of just be a presence there. And so this was the first time that was going to be part of it. And we have the perfect people, because it's a woman and her 7-year-old daughter. And so the kid looks, there's no better decoy toy than like a 7-year-old. I love baby. We have these toys that are like bribery toys for when the time comes that, we need. And so I broke out a Tango toy. Tango is Elmo's dog.
Oh, okay.
And so that's kind of been the one she goes to the most lately, because it's a puppy, and so it works both ways. She's also got a Figaro cat stuffy that we can. It's like she'll have to get like her diaper changed, and she'll want to carry like that big blow mold cat in. And so my wife will try and trade her with a smaller, more manageable animal to be able to get her on the changing table and change her.
As she's watching things, since mine, my youngest is 10, so it's been 10 years since, 8 years since she was your daughter's age. And it's interesting to hear what she's watching now.
Yeah, what's got a stranglehold in your house?
But it's not that different, apparently.
Really?
And also it's what we're watching now too. On top of it,
Has Bluey made its insertion into your home yet?
No, but Bubble Guppies have just recently.
Bubble Guppies
is part of it. Bluey is more for us, I think, than the kid, and it raises the standard of parenting at a very high level. And the kid, though, it's like she loses interest in Bluey quicker than other things.
Right. Yeah. Well, you got to get to the point of Caillou.
No.
Did you guys Caillou?
We had some Caillou, but we were quickly on to Caillou parody videos.
Exactly. that's the only way you can go.
That's awesome.
You have to Caillou, Jorge, before, and then you will understand what it means to Caillou.
You want to kill Caillou.
You want to kill.
So you
Even
find
my
videos
daughters
where
want to
people
kill Caillou right now.
He's just such an insufferable little snot.
He's just always.
Oh God. I also have a 2-year-old grandson. So Bluey has inserted himself into our home, and then we find ourselves, he leaves and Bluey stays on.
You're still watching Bluey.
Yeah, it's because there's a few that'll bring a tear to you. It's like, wow.
Oh.
It's a sweet show.
It is. And there's, a little bit of peppered adult humor in there,
I don't know if this is true for either one of you guys, but
hold on. Just 'cause if I don't say it, I'm going to forget it. We're watching a Bubble Guppies. Part of the reason is that if you record something on the DVR, there's always a little lead in as to what's coming up next. Mm-hmm. So we were putting on Dora the Explorers for her, which is good because it also gives her a little taste of Spanish. Mm-hmm. After that would be Bubble Guppies. So then she started wanting to watch Bubble Guppies. And so we had to start taping Bubble Guppies too. There's an episode of Bubble Guppies that came on that we were watching yesterday. The premise is, how deep do you want to go?
Absolutely.
Bubble Guppies is about these mer children that, they go to school and they're taught by a group.
And they line up. Everybody lines up.
And after they line up and go outside, they have this imagination game. And that's basically the story that reinforces today's lesson. This one was kind of Flintstones times. And there is a dog in Bubble Guppies called Bubble Puppy, and he was their Dino in that particular episode. And there was kind of like a Ninja Warrior-esque competition for dinosaurs. And so when Bubble Puppysaurus, as he is a dinosaur in this version, he goes to catch a ball, Gil throws. When he jumps up to catch it, it made this
Batman type of sound.
And I was like, I turned to my wife, I says, do you know what this sound is? It's like the way they use record scratch still, even though there's no concept of the original, it's like that same kind of thing that they use the $6 Million Man sound effect for a slow motion jump,
which no,
and there's no world where that exists for that
child, right? I was like, right.
I mean, my wife had no idea what it was, and so I was like,
well, she didn't know the derivation of it. But
it's like so weird.
I love it. It's like a sound meme. It transcends generations because it's I love that. That's interesting.
It's like when you hear little kids hear the number 69 and they go nice. Yeah. And they're like, why do you do that? He goes, I don't know, it's a meme.
It's a meme. Right, yeah. Well, I mean, that's interesting because as time goes by, you find those shows that throw things in for the parents that are watching with their kids, and like Delaney's watching things that I would watch.
Right.
I mean, they're not necessarily on my own. I wouldn't necessarily watch like The Owl House or Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls.
Gravity
Falls is good TV, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good show. But I would not have done that on my own. But then when we're watching, I'm like, yeah, I can watch this.
And it's kind of strange too. Like, I don't know how old of a guy you are, David, but when did you have your first kid? How old were you when you had your first kid?
Well, it was 13 years ago. So
are you afraid 37.
To say 37.
Okay, so
did you all do math, or are you afraid to say?
I had to do my math.
So you were 37. So you were 37 then, or 37 now?
A 37 then.
You're a young-looking dude, man.
Thank you. 37 then.
Okay, so actually, we all kind of. I mean, I restarted obviously, but when I got together with my wife, I was 26 or 27, and the boys were 10 and 7. But for the most part, we all started later than is traditional parenting.
Not in LA.
Well,
yes, you're right.
I suppose. I suppose. So it's really strange when you point out the Bionic Man sound. It's almost like they're putting stuff in for grandparents to have a reference for.
That's not.
I mean,
I don't think.
That's not cool,
I don't think it was like.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it.
It wasn't a gift. It wasn't an Easter egg for us. It literally has become part of the lexicon. Like that is the sound effect
means this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like sometimes you'll get like a Dukes of Hazzard reference, like or cars jumping or something. It's like there ain't a lot of new 20-something parents that are watching Bubble Guppies that are going to have any idea. They probably don't even have a frame of reference for the shitty movie, that came out to know. So it's kind of, I appreciate it. I'm glad because I'm going to be watching kids shows for a long time because I guarantee this ain't my last grandkid either. So it's nice to have a little something in there for me.
I was just thinking somebody should reboot Dukes of Hazzard with the Confederate flag and everything. Yeah, but make it aware of how messed up and cause I just love whenever they would blow up the cop car with a flaming arrow and then stop at the side of it and make sure that he was okay. Yeah, he's fine. Okay. I don't know.
That was a very
like G.I. Joe parachutes.
Yes. G.I. Joe parachutes or the A-Team explosions.
Yeah. What was I watching where they had this thing where Community had a parody of G.I. Joe and where it's like Joel McHale's character was like, he's just gonna. Why don't you kill these guys? Because then it'll be done. He kills Cobra Commander, and everybody's like, "What did you do?"
That's very. Yeah.
The 80s were a weird time for violence because it was all pseudo violence, on TV. It was. I remember one episode of
and I catch how much violent now. So then we're watching stuff on Disney Plus, and then I'm like, okay, let's look at, and I'll dig up some because I oh, these cartoons feature Minnie Mouse. She likes Minnie Mouse. I'm trying to push those, or I'll push. I didn't know there were actually cartoons that starred Figaro, and so then it's starting to learn it. So you might also will be something I'm like, oh, there's a one where Pluto saves the kitten. I was like, okay, it's got a kitty, it's got Pluto, so this will be great. I put it on, and then there's the violence between the Pluto stories. There's always violence between the devil Pluto and the angel Pluto, which are the only the actual dialogue that kind of happens in those things. But also the number of old, and I think they've always been Disney cartoons, but so far I've hit 2 that feature a reference to drowning a cat in a bag.
Wow.
These
are old-timey?
Old-timey. Oh, yeah, these are
so Pluto,
the 50s.
Pluto's is outside, and he hears a meow and a meow, and there's ice sheets going by, and there's a bag tied up where the meow's coming from, and attached to that bag is an iron, a rope with an iron on the end of it. And then
that's dark.
And then there was another one that was some kind of heaven or something, and it's the pearly gates, and a bag comes bouncing along, and 3 cats come out of the bag and go into heaven.
I remember that.
And I was like, man, how many times does this get referenced? And then not only that, it's so wait a minute, are you telling me back in, what was this, the 50s or
50s?
Back when America was great. America was great. They used to drown cats.
Yep. Cats, drowning cats in
Cats are back. That's the thing. Everybody knows. Well, I can relate.
Does your daughter pick up on it?
Or that's a
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
classic drowning cats in a bag.
Right.
She has but it goes by her, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime where would that concept come from?
But when it gets violent, I go,
maybe this wasn't the right choice.
Yeah.
Well, that changes because then we're watching things now where it's like it's not violence, it's like sexual content. And we're like,
well, violence comes first.
Yeah.
And somehow we're okay with violence, but sexual content is like, whoa. Like
Right.
my kids are like, especially my oldest is super prudish, and he's like, I don't want to see any PDAs or anything, but he's like way into violence, and it's fine because he was inundated with, and that's what we let kind of seep through gradually.
And I think that's fairly normal because he's like 13, right?
He's 13 now.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty normal, especially when he's around his parents, because like there's
Right.
that weird awkwardness of seeing like any kind of display of sexuality or anything around it. Yeah.
What was there some movie we saw at one point when my wife's mom was visiting? And the opening credits is these large stripper ladies, but they're all like large size women dancing naked in some like stage show. And this is the opening credits of this movie. I forget what the movie is.
Thanks for easing us in.
It's one of those like Killing of Sacred Deer guys movies. I think it's one of those.
what channel was this on?
Boy.
That is so awkward.
Well, that's awkward on a couple levels because with your kid and with your mother-in-law.
My kid wasn't there. This is pre-kid.
Okay, that was pre-kid. Like,
Years ago. Nothing comes on the TV for us until the kid's gone to bed.
Yeah.
But you have a DVR, so you're not like, she's not watching YouTube videos ad nauseum like my kids do. Like, does she have screen limits?
Ooh, that's a good question.
She kind of sets her own limit. She gets up from the couch. And
wow.
Sometimes I'm like, hey, let's put on some like YouTube. Well, there's Miss Rachel on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
There's also some owl cartoon. It's an owl and a woodpecker cartoon that's for like little kids. That's on YouTube that
Goldie and the
came
Bear.
across. And
But it doesn't just go on autoplay.
and then I'll put on like, I'll be like, all right, let's just look at some cute puppy videos or some
Right.
cute
Well,
cat
she's
videos
20 months,
to kind of
though.
like show her something else, something different.
She's not Mr.
But
Beast
no,
yet.
we're always sitting next to her when she's,
Yeah.
for the most part.
I see.
Or we start like I give Miss Rachel. There'll be like there's some of there that'll last like for a half hour, for 2 hours. So it'll be like, all right, set her there. They kind of go through that. Well, you got to go put something on the stove to kind of like warm up whatever her is going to be her lunch and things like that. So there's a little bit of that sometimes.
Because I remember
about myself.
at the beginning, I was like, you would have guilty feelings about like the YouTube babysitting the kid or giving them their own iPad, and that's gone way out the door.
YouTube Kids was better, but I'm sure you can both commiserate with the, and I don't know if it's a deal now, but it's still a deal, but the unboxing videos that we had to watch.
Oh yeah.
Like somebody's hands opening boxes, and they were like fascinated with it.
Did you ever experience Miss Hands?
I don't know.
Miss Hands was so obnoxious because she would just basically take like makeup and just scrape it out of stuff and then mix it together into goo, and like they would watch it for an hour.
Yeah,
and
they'd
I'm
be
like,
riveted.
You're watching nothing. Like there's she's making
It's
a mess.
not nothing. They love it. Like
Right.
my kid right now is all into this one woman. She goes to different McDonald's in New Jersey and opens the Happy Meals and collects all the Happy Meal toys. And now that's what we do. Like literally, we don't even go for the burgers. Like my wife just walks in and be like, "Do you have this toy from the Happy Meal? Can I purchase that?" And it's the greatest marketing thing ever. But
Right.
he's
Can you just buy the toys separate?
yeah.
What is it? What is a toy?
Which is good because then he doesn't have 1,000
What's the
McDonald's
cost of the
hamburgers.
Happy Meal?
No, I think it's
It's like
like
$1.50, $2.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty
that's
reasonable.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
remember when I was a kid, we went to Hawaii and there was some promotion in the McDonald's Happy Meals, and my sister and I wanted to get McDonald's every day because of it. There was a McDonald's across the street from the hotel.
That's
and
what's
our parents
happening.
Like, oh man, we came to Hawaii and the kids gonna have McDonald's every day. And so we would eat McDonald's poolside while our parents would have dinner at the restaurant that they could watch us from the patio of the pool to make sure we were there.
we're having the real meal.
And now my kid likes to do his own unboxing videos, and I had to edit one down the other day. I was like, I had been editing for like 12 hours. And my wife was like, "Can you just cut this down to something entertaining?"
Well, there's that one YouTuber. He's an adult.
He's a multi-million. He's like the number one earner on YouTube.
Yeah,
Ryan.
No.
Ryan.
Ryan's Twitter review.
Yeah.
But like, there's an adult he started with unboxing videos, and now he has like 25 million subscribers, and like he just bought like an aircraft hangar to make videos in.
Well, I remember back in the day, there was this lady down in Florida, and nobody knew who she was. Multi-millionaire. All you saw were her hands.
That's Miss Hands.
Is that what they call her?
I'm pretty sure that's Miss Hands.
It wasn't that back then. I mean, they didn't call her that. But I just remember it was like, this woman is making bank, and nobody knows who she is. And, it's like she can just do whatever.
And what a way to, what a great business model.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't really have to be that creative. I was like, hey, this isn't here.
Well, what's she gonna do? Go to Disney World, and like she goes to hand him like her card or whatever. Like, I know those hands.
Right.
Can I get a selfie with your hands? Like she is completely anonymous. Like, what a great way to do that. I don't know.
It's like when George is the hand model in Seinfeld, and it's like, oh.
Or Joey found his hand twin in Friends. When they were in, I think, Vegas or something like that. This is my hand twin.
Those shows are so, like, simply, like, who thinks of that? Right. Like, I'm going to have an entire episode about hands. Like, well, and Seinfeld seemed to have, like, a through line, because there's the man hands, it's like, you're just going to keep writing stories about hands.
So I'm just going to touch on the uniqueness of you guys' situation. So you have, one of your kids is in the industry.
Yes, he is.
And how does that affect the other kids, or just the dynamic in the family?
That's a good question. It feels like it doesn't affect the other kids now. Mm-hmm. When it first kicked off, there was definitely some... so his very first gig was for 13 Reasons Why. Mm-hmm. And his mom and I were super excited, obviously, that he had booked this. And
he's an actor?
He's an actor. And so they flew him up to San Francisco to shoot. That's where they were shooting. Mm-hmm. And his mom went with him. And the day that they shot, it was a flashback. So he was playing a younger version of one of the main characters, mm-hmm. and it was like how these two characters became friends. And there was like a whole schoolyard of kids, like 50 extras, but he was the principal that day. So they were treating him like the star of the show. There was none of the irregular principals were there. They got a per diem. They went and they got sushi. They hung out in the hot tub, and like, my wife was just there for him, and she didn't have to take care of the other kids because mm-hmm. they were back home with me. So he felt like a star. And he was like, where's Hank? Anybody got eyes on Hank? And they were like pushing the extras out of the van and everything. This is his first team only. And this is his first experience. Mm-hmm. So he comes back to LA. My parents were visiting from New York, and I'm super excited. And like they walk in the door, and they hadn't seen my parents in a while. And he's 6 years old at this point.
Wow.
So I was like, how was it? And he goes, this house is so boring. I was like, oh, fuck. And my wife grabbed him, took him into the other room, because she has such a good rapport with these kids. Like, she treats them with such respect, and she's so good to them that when she does get upset,
they are aware.
It means something. Yeah.
They lock in. So she was like, I'm not taking you any more auditions, nothing. If you're going to act like this, and she immediately invited over his friend who's autistic and, mm-hmm. Has sort of special needs. And he always has to like focus and help the kid, like be patient and everything. And just to normalize it. And she gave him the riot act, and it was very important. And then there was another time when, I don't remember, it was after this, but we were picking him and his younger brother up from school. I'm going to screw this story up right now because I can't remember some of the details, but basically you come out and like a car almost hit our younger child we were picking up because he mm-hmm. kind of ran in front of it.
Right.
And Henry, the older kid, was like, you almost got killed because you're an idiot. And I can't remember the story.
Oh, come on, man. You got this far.
It's so good. I know. And it's so good. It's so good.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Come on, bring it home. You can bring it home.
That's why you got superpowers.
It's such a good anecdote. I swear to God. Yeah, you got to cut it out.
Well, so what have you done to make your house more interesting?
Right.
What are you gonna do to fix this boring house?
Basically, he got a full-time job as a series regular on a sitcom, and that became boring. That became the daily grind.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
He's an introvert at heart. He's not a show kid. So it wasn't like I don't know what it was, but he didn't, I don't even know if he wants to be an actor after this. He enjoys his quiet time. He enjoys playing video games with his friends, and there's something. If I could remember that anecdote where he was,
it would be the best.
He was awesome,
ever.
but he was basically super mean to our middle child, and that may have had some effect on him because our middle child is very funny, and his my older son's manager was like, "Hey, Charlie, do you want to act too?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, okay.
Well, that was my question. Is like, how do the other two relate? I mean, do they care? I mean,
the younger one wasn't even aware.
Sure.
But basically, Charlie's like started doing his own art. He's like, I don't want to make any money from this. And it was like pretty recently. I was like doing like a little side acting class, and I was like memorizing lines. And Charlie, my middle child, thought it was so interesting that I was memorizing these lines and doing the scenes over and over again. And he's like, I like to try an acting class. I was like, okay. And he said, but I don't want to ever do an acting job ever. And he was afraid to go take the class because he thought they would try to push him. And that's what they want to do. And he's like, I'm laying down the law. And afterwards, he got bored of it. But
and I think what he's telling you is, Dad, I just want to have fun.
Yes.
Like, I just want to do it for fun. My youngest daughter's in gymnastics. And like when they start leaning on her to be like, all right, now for competition, you have to do this. It has to be, this form has to be correct. And she's like, well, I don't want to do that. I just want to learn how to do a backflip.
Yeah,
I just want to be able to go in the backyard and impress my friends. Like, I don't want any part of. She hates the beam because that's competition, and she has to be very form focused. And she's like, that's not what I'm here for.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Abby was doing gymnastics for a while, and then she's like, I enjoy it, but I feel like there's too much pressure, and I just want to enjoy the activity of gymnastics. So now she's going to find some sort of tumbling class, so she doesn't have to do that.
I think we just found our new enterprise. We started gymnastics school.
Non-competitive
That's
gymnastics.
Just like, once you learn to do a backflip, you become an instructor. Like, it's just like, that's the goal.
it's going to be a terrible school.
yeah, well, I mean, obviously.
But, I was thinking that it would probably be more unique probably 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But I mean, I guess a lot of kids are looking at, like, you trying to be in their own YouTube video or what have you. Because, I mean, but here they have an opportunity, and we're all industry people. So they're exposed to some of this. Like, Delaney wanted to try acting for a short bit, and then she went to one on an audition eventually that it was just like this person, it was a bunch of 6-year-olds, and this guy gave them like a 15-minute explanation, and you don't do that to 6-year-olds because they're gone after minute 1. And she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, cool. Whereas, and Everly's like, can you get your agent to do things? I want to. And it's weird a little bit, but Delaney wants nothing to do with it, So sounds like Charlie's a little bit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was this mystery anecdote that I can't remember, but he's very much about art, but for the sake of art.
Yeah, same with Delaney.
Is he currently on this show that he's bored with?
Yeah, it's been renewed for a 6th season, and he thinks, and he says that if he was on something like Breaking Bad, something really dope and cool, he'd love it. And I was like,
can you give me something where I'm selling math, Dad?
He's 13.
Okay.
But he watches edgier stuff.
Is what it is. No, of course. He doesn't have any expenses. Because like an actor with expenses is like, I just want a job. I just want something that I can get some money.
His frame of reference is so different.
I only want to do dope shows.
He's aware of it now. He's older now. He's mature. Like we went to the picket line because his show was having an event, and we were talking strike, and I was like saying to my other buddy, it was like the crew was there too, and I was like, I just want this to end. This is so bad. I was like, Henry's the only SAG actor who's happy about the strike. And he says right away, he's like, that's because I don't have to put food on the table. And I was like, I really appreciate you saying that, buddy.
Right.
Well, and I bet there's other kids that feel the same way he does. I bet there's other
kid actors?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there are. Yeah.
The frame of reference is, once again, same thing. This is just extra. I mean, it's
when he signed up, he didn't know he was signing a 6-year contract.
Right.
He was 6 years old.
Yeah.
So it's also, I'm like, we were like, at one point he wanted to quit. And we were like,
it's hard to kill a kid off on a show.
This is crazy. like, what can we do to make the experience more enjoyable? We don't, because like,
you don't want to hate it.
Quitting this is it's insane financially. It's not like we weren't like he has a good environment there, and so I don't think we were being bad parents by like trying to encourage him to like stick it out and see what was wrong. But
Work, child. Work. Taking my goddaughter to Disneyland on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and we're still in the bayou area at the very beginning, when she's like, I want to get off this thing. She starts standing up.
Oh, yeah, no, that happened.
That's the analogy. It's like, no, you can't yet.
But
you got some waterfalls ahead.
Yeah.
Well, and if you think of it from a kid brain point of view, at 13 years old, you're in your 6th season of a sitcom, which sitcoms are
half his life.
Yeah, and they're very formulaic.
Yeah.
So in his mind, he's like, I go to work and do the same thing every single day. So in a kid brain, that's the first way for a kid to get bored. Because it's probably not
and
challenging.
Your 6-year-old self is so different than 13-year-old self. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a complete.
Yeah.
He was so nervous to go out and do the pilot. Like we had to use like magic spray on his stomach because from the infirmary at CBS Radford lot. Because he's like, my stomach, like when he gets nervous, he gets stomach ache. And he was like, I think they're just going to have to reschedule the shoot of the pilot. And we're like, well, that's not going to happen. And we were all so excited. It was like a party. Like there was a whole crowd there, like every Tuesday night, and it was insanely cool. And we were all excited about it. And eventually, like COVID happened, and
so like a 3-camera live tape.
Live TV.
Okay.
It's the best gig in
Magic
Hollywood.
Spray really something that the infirmary has?
Well, I don't know. I guess this nurse had dealt with child actors before. Wow. It was so cool, and it worked. It worked like a charm. And
Magic Spray.
I would love to have some of that.
My youngest daughter.
You do. You just need a spray bottle.
And it's non-invasive.
No, for me. I want it for me.
Well, my youngest daughter had a bug bite, and I was trying to leave for work and get her off to school at the same night. It's pandemonium in the morning. Like I'm trying to get out the door, and she's like, "I have this bug bite, and it itches really bad. I can't go to school all day with it itching." And I'm like, "I don't know where the anti-itch cream is." So I had, the Goldmon aerosol spray.
Aerosols.
I had an old can of it that was just air, and I'm like, "Hey, this is what this is for."
That's Magic Spray.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, "It feels better already."
Yeah.
I'm like, "You're the smart one."
It's got that smell on it still.
Yeah, exactly. There's something there.
Oh man, she was right as rain.
Well, and in case you guys ever want the bug sucker things, have you
No, what is that?
Oh yeah, there's like these little suction things you put on bug bites so that it pulls out the
venom.
The venom, essentially.
The other thing is, hey, make an X in that with your thumbnail.
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah.
Cootie shot.
I mean, I'm fine with lying to my kids as long as the end result's good.
So the flip side is, Jorge, you're identifiable. How are you going to, or do you approach your daughter being in public and keeping her shielded or just at least protected?
Well, she's still young, so we still have limited public outings as far as... And, I got lucky. She was born during the pandemic. So I got that was all home time for all that kind of stuff like that. We haven't quite figured out too much as far as like beyond that. The few times we've posted about her, we don't show her face. So we do things like that. And we've asked people who, when we're in like big group things, like we went to a family reunion and we're like, hey, please, if you post, don't post pictures of the kid and stuff like that. And you're trying to keep that part of her private. Like I have this plan that when she's like 18 and be like, hey, is it cool if we post pictures of you, to then start an Instagram account of like a rapid growth progression
that's
of
cool.
like here's highlights of the kid and kind of go through that. I think would be kind of fun to kind of recreate, because it's also just kind of fun, just kind of like sometimes you sit and you look at her from exactly a year from now as close as you can and just being like, wow, that's crazy. So I don't know. That's a bridge we cross when we get to it, I guess.
Yeah.
We push around the stroller, like the farmer's market and stuff like that, and I just try not to worry about it. I think you kind of end up making the scene sometimes when you try too hard to avoid the scene. So I'm just gonna.
What's been your experience in public? Are people pretty respectful? They leave you alone, or especially if you have your daughter with you?
I'm pretty ignored. I don't get as much public reaction as I used to. So it's like there's times when all of a sudden you're like, oh, the right people were in this place at this time. But,
sure.
Most of the time I'm leaving the house on my own anyways, and my wife kind of staying in with the kid, and I'm going out to get supplies or run the errands on my own.
Right.
I remembered the anecdote.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Fascinating.
Good.
So
We can leave that in.
Let me start it over. How did I dovetail? Anyway, okay, so all right, so we're picking. This is at the beginning of my older son's acting career. I think he had already done 13 Reasons Why, and it was before he booked this pilot for the show. But I think he just booked a Super Bowl commercial, and we went to pick him and his brother up at their school, and his younger brother kind of ran out. And he always very little impatience for his younger brother, who's very he's mercurial and he does what he wants, and the older one's more responsible because birth order. Anyway, he's like, you idiot! And then they jump in the car, and my wife says, "Hey, you booked the commercial," and he's like, "Yeah," and I go, "We're so proud of you, buddy." And my younger son, he goes, "Are you guys proud of me?" And Henry said, "Yeah, they're proud of you for almost getting hit by a car."
Woof.
And we're like, oh, that's a huge parenting fail right there. Anyway, that was my anecdote. It was so much funnier when back in the day. Now it sounds sad.
I'm so glad you got that closure.
I'm sorry.
To be fair, I do want to give him credit for it was a good line. It was a
biting line for a 6-year-old. I think that was the thing. You had to look at them and see how young they were and how raw that was for.
So God, how old was the younger of the two?
He was 4.5, 5.
Oh wow, wow.
I guess 7 and 4.5.
Yeah, he's smoking pretty good.
I kind of want to ask y'all about the decision about the second child.
Yeah.
I don't know if it really was a decision so much as okay, we did. I mean, it was, it wasn't like we...
Was it a given? You mean from beforehand?
I think we weren't avoiding the concept. Let's put it that way. And so we after that we were avoiding the concept of a third. But I
think the big decision is. I mean, I have a strong opinion about it. I think I see a lot of people. It's time. It's time for yourself and time spent on your child. I do feel in my gut that I would always go for a second child, because if things work out, and they don't always work out, they have a companion, and
100%.
They influence each other, and they get exposed to different things through their siblings.
Yeah, and like you said, the hope is that they'll go through most of their life with somebody.
And they get socialized a little bit. I don't know. But my wife, I remember, was very, very, very concerned about having a third. About not having time for the other two.
Right.
And that has played out.
Splits your time.
The third, that it's she's like, I love these two so much, I don't want to do anything that pulls away from that. You only have so many resources, time and money in
you're going from man to man, and then you have to go zone.
So limited in your love.
Love is not on that list. No.
3 kids get a third of the love.
Love is infinite. Love is infinite.
If you're married, you have to share love with other people. It's I get it.
No, I don't. That's all for Reagan.
Time and money. Time and money is finite. That can become hard. That can become hard.
And I think timing is also a component. Some people go one boom, 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 like year and a half. Like my girls are almost 4 years different. And so, they both got their formative years to themselves almost, as opposed to, okay, I'm 2 years old. I'm still doing stuff, but there's a baby that they're trying to deal with. I don't know what that would be like.
Yeah, no, we have our older boys are 2.5 years apart, and then there's a 6-year gap before we had our youngest, and that's because we were indecisive about what we thought we were done, and something about craving that the time you're in now, where you're so hands-on and so important, and you're so involved with them and watching them develop we were craving it, or I was craving it so much that we went back for a third. And there is a trade-off. Like there's a lot of
Went back for a third.
It's like it's a child buffet. I don't know.
Grab a new plate.
I feel kind of full right now. No, let's go for it.
I might have overdone it here.
It has complications.
Oh, 100%. And like for us, our timing, we were so dumb because, I've been with my wife since 2007. And like I said earlier, when we got together, the boys were like 10 and 7. And then we got to the point where they were like almost self-sufficient. So we could, go out for dinner and order them a pizza and not have to worry about them burning the house down or anything. And then we started over. So it was a weird adjustment for us. My wife always makes the joke. She's like, we could be empty nesters right now. We could be doing whatever we wanted. We would have so much more money, so much more time. And it's time and money. I love the shit out of my kids, and
how did that decision process go down?
Okay, well, so my dad was adopted. And so I have a younger sister and then me. My dad has 2 adopted brothers also. They never had any children. So I was like, well, it's kind of my responsibility, to come up with something to keep our family lineage going, and I wanted, it's purely
Must pass the genes along.
Game of Thrones.
Legacy.
purely biological.
Survival of the species.
So, I was like, well, it's weird now because now that the boys are older, like I see no difference between them and the girls. Like they're all my kids, but at the time I was like, well, I want something that's of mine. I want a kid that's
You want to play with your own toys.
biologically mine, So we had my oldest daughter and she was a girl. So I was like, oh man, still no family name.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like,
Well, you don't know what it goes through your head.
Names are different now too, though.
They are, but it went through my head too.
No, I really wanted a boy first off. I wanted a boy first off, but I think that was less about the family name, but I may be lying to myself, and more about just having like a kid I could relate to.
Sure. Well, when you have girls, it was like a fleeting 5-second thing almost.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was like, but there she is, and I love her. But you have that thing when you get the test halfway through the sonogram, and you're like, okay.
yeah. Well,
But for me, it's like I'm the last fours mark of our family tree, and I'm like, but then I'm like, who cares? It's an adopted name anyway. My great grandfather was adopted. Who cares? Right.
Which is kind of my thought process
and so
too.
It was like, okay, yeah. But it does go through your head for a hot
There's
second.
an urge to have a biological child. Though.
Yeah. That's just science.
My cousin went in Chile's got 3 daughters. At one point, talked to him about it, and he was like, I like having daughters because daughters like to play tea, tea party, and I like playing tea party. As opposed to like whatever destruction like a boy would want to do.
There's a different bond, I think, between a dad and his daughters. Like there's just something that I can't like put into words, but when I get home, there's a different reaction from them with me getting home. It's like dad's home, and they,
It's like a dog versus a cat.
I don't know for sure.
That's all I got.
The more I think about it, you're right.
The one thing, like, I wasn't
having a daughter wasn't the troubling thing, actually. The one thing that's troubling about having a daughter is the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I mean, less rights already.
Yep.
And that kind of business is like going, oh man.
Yeah. What do we do for them to keep them? To give them as much as they should be getting.
That was part of my relief when I was told I was having a boy, like less to worry about.
Well, and boys having 2 of each, boys are easier. Like my boys are dopey as hell, but they were just, it was so much more low impact. And already with the girls, it is just, I'm exhausted.
Psychologically?
Yeah. It's a lot of work. And part of that is because they have my genetics and I'm a mess. So like, I'm like, hey, guess what dad got you? Anxiety and crippling depression. You're welcome. So that's a little bit, frustrating too, but you do worry and with the state of the world that it's in. And it's like, God, a boy doesn't accidentally get pregnant. And then you don't have to deal with that stuff. And you don't have to, my youngest daughter, I'm not worried about her because she will fuck a dude up. Like she is a very forthright, strong-willed girl. My oldest daughter though is very sensitive and very
impressionable.
Yeah. And eager to please. Like she wants friends so badly and she doesn't make friends easily. So junior high school, I'm terrified of junior high school because once she gets into that environment, and the school that we are closest to is not a great school. When you live in a town of only 100 or a county of only 160,000 people, and one school has all of the folks that make the most money, and then you throw a middle class kid in there, it's going to be a nightmare for her. And she's awkward, and she doesn't like the things other kids like. And
so she's like you.
Yes.
Yeah. There's always homeschooling.
Careful.
My sister is pushing us to homeschool our kid. She's like, I'll give you the lessons plans. I'll do all this kind of stuff. She's like, I was like,
that's a very individual choice. That really has to be.
We thought about the idea, especially when we were in a different part of the valley. I was like, well, maybe, but
what part was that?
Well, we were in Valley Glen, and the local school wasn't the best school. And so we were like, well, okay. But then we moved where we are now, which is closer to the university, and the schools are good. And I was active with the school, so I was aware of who the teachers were and what the curriculum was, all that stuff like that. Because I know some people just hand off their kids to a school, and that's not anything we really wanted to do. We want to be very aware of who their teachers were. I know all of her teachers by name, still do. They had all the same teachers, thankfully. It just happened to work that way. But if I had seen any problems, we would have considered. And
I knew from just 1 year of at home, because of the pandemic, that I wanted no fucking part of trying to be a teacher. Like I'm not programmed that way. I can't do it.
I have to say,
you can't discipline your own kids. I just can't get them to do anything.
That is 100% true, because common theme, especially when Delaney was probably, she's almost 14 now, when she was like 8 or 9, it was like she would be so respectful to her teachers, and then she'd come home and I'm like,
they're comfortable at home. They know what the boundaries are. Like you can't change the game on them.
Well, no, but she would be like just back talking her. So I'm like, do you do that to your teacher? No. I'm like, why? Because there's repercussions or something. Would you like repercussions? I don't want to have.
And I've always said too, I would rather my kids be well behaved, respectful, and courteous in public, and come home and shit all over me. Because it's like, I want people to have a good impression.
Supposedly that's a healthy dynamic. I hear
they feel safe at home.
It doesn't feel great for us.
No, it doesn't. But for me, at least it tells me they have a concept of respecting other people.
Right.
But they're also that they have a happy home life that they can be comfortable enough to.
Right.
Well,
act out and not fear anything. I don't know.
And think of it again from a kid's brain point of view is they're at school trying to control everything or wherever they are, you know, they're trying to control everything in public at the mall. Who cares where they're at? But they're controlling their behavior while, you know, exponentially their hormones change over the course of 15 years and they're a mess and everything's changing so quickly over a short period of time. And then they come home and they're like, I'm done controlling that. I have to relax
in their safe space.
Yeah, and it's safe. We actually ran into that a lot with my oldest daughter still to this day, but like when she went into pre-K.
And I've got Jorge looking over here like, what is going on? What am I going in for?
Part of my hang-up is the school security. Like,
that's a thing.
And that all of a sudden, and just being like, all right, I'm going to trust these people to not be creeps.
And also, like the social dynamics, like you're talking about in middle school, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's extremely rough, especially on girls.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully in LA, it's not common for your kids to go from kindergarten to high school with the same cohort of people. Maybe you're lucky to have a few that come all the way through because, you know, your elementary is a feeder to one place. It depends where you live. In that neighborhood, you could go to a completely different middle school. Mm-hmm. And then high school, same difference. Both our kids are now in school, goes from 4 to 12. And so they were able to get, my youngest is in fourth grade, and so she's just starting. But my oldest was able to get a friend group, so that when she's in junior, when they just transitioned over to seventh grade, you know, 6th, 7th grade, they had already. It's the same people, and it's the same school. So thankfully, I think that was kind of dampened this transition that most of us had when we went to junior high. It was like, oh, junior high is a big different thing. We're going to probably a different building, different school. They don't do that. I mean, it's the same campus. So I felt good about that in the sense of being socialized and
that's,
stuff.
I mean, that is huge because, you know, I think we talked, I don't know if it was yesterday or what, about the arts getting pulled out of where I'm from. We've lost band and orchestra in elementary school. Well, that's my oldest daughter's jam, and so she hasn't found her people yet.
Well, I'll just tell you, that's not just Iowa.
Yeah, so. but I mean, it's sure, you get to junior high school, you can then join that group, but now you're starting a new thing that you didn't have before, and you already don't fit in, so you don't have that group of allies with you. Like, I always joke, I'm like, I need her to find a group of weird kids because she would flourish, because those are her people. You know, they have the same interests, and that's why it's scary and frustrating, because it's like, man, if they would just put band and orchestra back in elementary school, like, it would change everything.
Or just rhythm sticks.
They have those, actually.
Yeah, rhythm sticks.
I mean, she does have a really good music teacher that has created like a ukulele, guitar, and piano club on Friday mornings, and you know, there's a small group of kids that go do that, but it's still not quite, because it's all different grade levels. So, you know, there might be one other fourth grader in there, you know, so I mean, parenting it's fucking scary. Like, I mean, because we're all screwing it up in one way or another. Like, there's something we're all messing up.
I'm killing it, man.
Shut up.
Just how the thing that came up not that long ago was a discussion. Someone we know has a no sleepovers rule. And part of the reason why she has this rule is because, you know, someone else who had a no sleepovers rule, and when that person was like older, I don't know how, maybe 18 or maybe in college, something like that, and talking about how, oh yeah, my parents didn't let me, do sleepovers, that the other women in this conversation got emotional and some started crying, like, oh God, I wish my parents had that rule.
Oh, wow.
Because of whatever kind of traumatic experiencing or girl on girl bullying or whatever happens in a sleepover situation.
A group sleepover or just two?
No,
two
people.
girls.
I know girls like in like a group.
Oh, okay.
See, that has not been our
Slumber
experience
party
so far.
kind of thing. And I was like, oh, geez, really? Oh God, it's another thing to be afraid of.
My youngest and her friends, that's all they want to do. I mean, it's like...
Well, it sounds like they have a good group of friends. I think
they do.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, listen, I feel like, yeah, they can come here.
Yeah.
That's fine. They can come here. But you're not going to go to some house where I don't even know,
sure,
you know, what they keep in their closets or whatever, that kind of business.
Well, who's on the sleepover list? Like, are there any assholes in this
right,
slumber
but when
party
it's a
group?
large group, I feel less about that because it's, you know, it's less likely that
you can't sustain a large group without organization. So then it becomes
small groups.
Little clicks.
Well, no,
you can't help it.
But for me, my thing is I'd rather have a larger group because if it's just a couple of kids and I don't know the parents, then I get more concerned.
Well, that's key. Like, know the parents.
Yeah.
Like,
But
have
ones that
rules about,
the ones that they just, like my youngest stays over with, I know those people back and forth. I mean, it's like I know those people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we run into some issues. It's like, I need to know the parents.
100%.
I need to know what their background is. I need to know what they do for a living.
Well, you have to. I mean, that's just common sense, I think.
And I think that takes a lot of the pressure off, too. Then there's less to worry about. But what I do see, and I think you're kind of talking about, Jorge, is like when we have, my youngest daughter has 2 friends over, somebody is always crying. Somebody is always left out or upset, and if we have
that's
just
why
one
2
friend,
kids, not 3. That's part of it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it is very interesting because sometimes there's like 5 kids in our house, right?
well, and it depends. I mean,
it depends on the kids, but I mean, one of her, she went to the UCLA game last night with 2 of her friends, same people that she went to the Fall Out Boy concerts. I mean, this 10-year-old is doing more than I ever did, with the first 25 years of my life.
Are you jealous?
I am a little jealous, right?
Yeah, he wanted a UCLA Bruins sweatshirt really bad.
I mean, literally, she was like field level. She was on the field.
I'm aware. I've been watching you and how upset you've been, and left
So
out
this is
you
a
felt.
sign that you're a good parent.
I know,
You're
but
giving her all these things.
No, I didn't take her.
Well, you found friends who could afford it.
I know, but it's UCLA, not Iowa State, and so that's what's really frustrating me.
I watched him cry himself to sleep last night. It was so sad. I felt so bad for him.
But they're twins, a boy and a girl, and the 3 of them, it's fine. I mean, maybe because the 2...
Because it's like 2 people. They're 2 is 1.
Well, I'm just kind of wondering because they're used to being
They're
together.
speaking in unison.
They're a hive
They
mind.
stand at the end of the hall and blood rushes down. And I don't know.
Is she hanging out with Tomax and Zaymon?
Nice way to bring it back to
The kids from The Shining. It's more on them. I think the boy, it's more that he's just healthy enough that he's like, okay, I'll just do whatever you guys are doing, and never really feels left out. And I think because they, as twins, they've always just kind of done things together, and sometimes it's something one likes and the other one doesn't. They just lump it. It's fine. There is another pair of kids that play, and one of them, if they feel left out, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it always depends on the kids. And that's another thing, like, you have to remember, especially when you're a new parent, is like, people are going to tell you all kinds of stuff. Most of it's not applicable. Most of it's not true. It's like getting a dog. Every time when you get a dog, people are like, well, you need to feed it raw, and you need to do this, and you need to, if it has a spot on its nose, it's probably cancer. And it's like, well, just because that was your experience doesn't necessarily mean. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
Oh no! I just she had a spot on her nose, and
I had a thing I was doing, and then you just derailed me for just you're hurtful. I'm telling you, it's all staying in because it was beautiful. It was a thing of beauty. But you can't worry too much about other people's experience because it's not necessarily going to be the same. So many people told me when my girls were born, well, being a parent is this and being a parent is this. And I'm like, dude, did you forget I've already done this once? Like, I have more experience parenting than you do. Well, those aren't really your kids.
That's
like
annoying.
them's
Someone
fighting
else telling
words.
you how to parent is annoying because there are no rules. Each kid is an individual. Each family is an individual.
Right.
You got to do what feels right to you and seems to make the kids happy.
well, unless they're screwing it up, and then you go, "Hey, dude, your kid's a wreck."
Unless Tony knows what's up.
Yeah, well, and I will set fire to a house if somebody's like, well, it's different. Those aren't your real kids. And I'm like,
whoa,
are you really gonna?
That's a nice thing to say.
Are you really gonna fucking come at me with that? Good luck.
That's super
Tell
enlightening.
my pocketbook and my therapist that.
My pocketbook, my therapist, and my insurance premiums. Like, you tell me that those aren't my kids. Yeah. It is each parenting event is very individualized.
Okay, here's
Parenting
event. Yes. Here is the. Okay, what
So
was
they're
your?
like, wait a minute, this is a robot. You've entered the next parenting event.
It's like Event Horizon. Like, you get over it and you don't even know what's on the other side.
Level begin. Kids' favorite books I just put it like age 1.5, 2. Where they just loved it.
There was the Sleeping House. You're familiar with that book? There once was a sleeping house, and in that sleeping house there was a grandmother, and that grandmother there was a dog, and on that dog there was a flea. Like it goes on to this whole thing, and then it breaks it down at the end.
Like there was an old lady type thing?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Similar, but man, I read the covers off that book. That was in our house. And then the flappy books were like you open it up and then a flap that you open and there's something going on. That was my oldest.
I just got a new flappy book for the kid. It was a Sesame Street hide and seek one, and they did. I'm so pissed off. There's one they designed. It's Big Bird is opening a box. It's a triangle shaped flap. So the only part that's attached is super skinny piece. But the tab that you grab is on the side as opposed to the bottom. So instead of just flipping the triangle, you're flipping it sideways. So the first flip, it's already ripped.
Right.
Yep. And not only that, it's like knock knock, who's there is the theme. And so that particular one actually is Big Bird saying, rip, rip. What's there? And it's like, they fucking knew. They knew this was going to get ripped off. They did it on purpose.
That's good marketing. You gotta replace it.
It was part of the rewrite after the test audience.
This is a touchy subject. What's favorite books? Because like my two oldest ones, we read books to them all the time, and they had tons of favorite books, and we didn't instill that in my youngest, and I feel personally responsible. I feel like a failed parent for not doing it. But there's a ton. There's I think the first one I really remember is Blue Train, Green Train, which is a Thomas the Tank Engine book, and I read it so many times over the years, but I did it with gusto, and that was a big one. Another one was Stop That Pickle, which is a great book about runaway pickle, and all the different foods are alive, and somehow it's like a fascist state. All the foods want them to capture the pickle because he's like an individual and he's trying to be free. That's
Keep
good.
me out of that jar. I am not that guy.
Nuffle Bunny was a little older. Like all the Mo Willem books are great, but I think I like them more than
Sure. Right.
But yeah, Green Train, Blue Train, Stop That Pickle.
Yeah, I keep buying books for my own variety. Basically,
yeah, because you can go crazy. Kids love repetition. I was going to ask you that earlier about the screen time stuff, like watching
videos?
the same movie over and over and over again. That was
again. Like someone sends a video and it's like again, okay, again. It's like okay, no, that's going 9-9 now. Okay,
yeah, you want to blow your brains out. But now my 6, soon to be 7-year-old, he's a young 6, but he keeps repeating the same movies, but he's way into dinosaurs. So the 3 movies he keeps repeating are the second Jurassic Park trilogy. And I'm like, are we watching that again? And then I sit down, I'm like, this is really dope. I like the filmmaking here. It's like, it becomes like a comfort thing. It's a comfort to him. I'm a creature of habit too. It just needs to get to a certain age level, I think. Before you, because like those are
good.
Those are
like
adult movies.
Like because sometimes you go and you dig out like an old dinosaur movie, you can get some disturbing images.
Oh, it's disturbing, and that's his.
No, but it's like where it's like cruelty to animals. It's like they're putting like fins on the back of a lizard and they're making him fight like a little baby crocodile, and it's like oh no.
My kid just likes to go back. Like he watches Camp Cretaceous, which is the animated series, but he's seen all the episodes a billion times, and he keeps watching. But now he just goes to the highlights and he'll fast forward to where the bad guys get eaten over and over. He's like, "What? You want to see somebody else dies? You want to see somebody die?"
Did you have this phenomenon? Because my oldest, I can remember exactly what she was watching. Like there was Fresh Beat Band, there was this, all these other things that I know she was watching. Dora. I don't know that my youngest ever did because she was watching what my oldest did all the time. And so what she watches over and over is like, call me a bad parent, but Stranger Things, Wednesday. I mean, my 10-year-old, I mean, that's been her thing is she'll like watch those things over and over and over. And I'm like, she just skipped over the Dora phase,
She skipped over it, or she watched it with her older sister?
No, because her older sister's 4 years older, so she was already out of Dora. Oh, yeah. Right. So she was watching, whatever, when she started watching and understanding things, say 3 or 4 years old, Her sister's already 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's watching 8 or 9.
That's why you have a second kid, so that they can advance faster based on.
Oh, she 100% did.
watching
She always
the
wanted to catch
kid.
up and be where her sister was. So it's like sometimes we're like, "You remember this show?" And she's like, "No, I've never watched Dora."
It's like Serena Williams became better than Venus Williams. Same thing.
So what is the book for yours, Jorge?
I think Goodnight Gorilla's top of the list. Brown Bear, what you see is big. Monster at the end of the book. Like there's certain ones that we discover. She's learned pages. Like she goes, all right, because there's a part in Monster in the book where he's like, all right.
Oh, I thought it was
like
Matthew McConaughey book.
She's watching Contact.
She's going, you got Dazed and Confused on a loop.
All right.
Yeah, I think those are the ones. Although a friend sent us these books. It was like an Animals Play Mozart book where it has these little parts where you push the button and it plays a piece from Mozart. And I was like, oh, I like this series of books. So then I started buying the other music books. And then I realized that these people also have like sound effects books where it's like night sounds. So it'd be like, you push the button and it makes the owl sound, and then you turn the page, there's something else, and then it makes like the sound of rain, the sound of whatever. And so I've been, this series, whatever this company, I've been buying books from these people all the time just because there's always something new, something fun. There's like one that was like the dance of the dinosaurs, and each page has got a different dinosaur move, and then at the end you put them all together, it's like choreography, and the kid gets into it, flapping her hands or roaring and stuff, and I'm like, oh great.
Have you discovered as Little Einsteins, the show, made it into your house yet?
No, it has not.
I recommend it. Like a lot of classical music, a lot of learning stuff. It's catchy as hell. Like both my girls loved it.
There was this one of like the Apple News articles about like these are like kind of must-haves for a toddler, kind of like different random toys. And one was, it's like a little, it looks like a transistor radio with like some little ring bits on the end of it, and it plays about maybe 4 classical music pieces and a very simple thing, and it was a very good kind of like oh, this will settle her kind of thing, and she digs it, and she'll still every now and then just be walking around with it and just pushing the button and letting it do the next song.
Walking around with her classical Walkman and her blow mold kitty.
Well, she one at a time because she only has 2 hands, and she can't. If she's carrying that kitty, she can't carry anything else.
I got a question for you guys. Yeah. Have you noticed like your kids modeling your behavior? Like I always say like I want my kids to read more, but I never read. Or if the rare occasion I'm reading a book on a Kindle app on my iPad, so it looks like I'm looking at my iPad. And I know that my oldest, Henry, when he was like 4 or 5, I was in the BHP class with you guys, and I was putting up scenes, and I was working on that on the side, and he literally told me maybe a year later, he thought I was an actor. He thought that was my job. And I was like, did that influence your decision to like say yes when we said take an acting class, and say yes when there was that play that got him started and everything? And he was like, yeah, I thought you were an actor. And if it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Well, you were saying something about now he's trying to edit his own things. Do you think that's...
I feel like he came to that on his own. Like he watched YouTube videos, and he, like, before he started acting, he put together a little video where he shot, directed, acted in it, and it was like a remaking of the Titanic at my mother-in-law's pool. And it was, and he put it, and he edited it together there at the pool. He was like 4.5, 5. It was amazing. But maybe he saw me make a little short or something. I don't know. But so whenever I'm complaining about the fact that they don't do something, it's probably because I don't do it, right? You know, sure. and you want to, I don't know, model healthy behavior for them.
I mean, they are always watching, and they are certainly always listening. Like I've seen some stuff slip out, and I'm like, oh, I know where she learned that. That's my fault. I didn't think she was listening.
She'll say it right away. You say something, and then she says it, and I was like, oh, all right.
Well, but they do. They remember stuff like my youngest, who, you know, I think he's so unaware, but he's like, you said that there was a dinosaur movie coming out made from Legos. When is that? And I was like, oh my God, that was 4 weeks ago. But,
right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're like little
Sponges.
information traps. Like, then they'll hold it against you later. I worry because of like when I see them model stuff, because it always seems to be something negative.
Like a lack of confidence.
Yeah. Nervousness. I mean, my oldest daughter for sure, like her anxiety, and like I try to be empathetic towards it because I remember being her age and feeling the same thing she feels, but at the same time, sometimes she grasps onto that and it's her out. It's her out.
Yeah,
it's like, well, I'm not going to do that because I know this. This makes me nervous, or so I'm just not going to do it. Or she'll use it as an excuse for her behavior. It's like, well, I was really nervous. I was like, yeah, but you were a jerk, man. Like, you can't say those things to your sister or your grandma, regardless of what the reasoning is behind it. You still can't,
But then you still do it.
I had this thing where the first time she threw a tantrum, I laughed because it was freaking adorable. Right. And I got her upset. Then I laughed at it. And I was like, but how does she know that my laughing at it is something to be upset about? I don't remember now that one. But even recently, she did something that's just so cute and endearing, and I laugh, and then the bottom lip comes out because I'm laughing at her.
And that reminds her of
what? But how did she get that?
It was directed at her behavior.
That was a thing like that. I was like, did she somehow got socialized to understand that? It was like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you and your wife, you're the only reflection she has. So, I mean, I guess socially, she's going to play off of whatever she didn't have anything else, right?
I mean, she's throwing a tantrum because she wants something.
This wasn't a tantrum thing. This was later. This was just like she just did something cute.
Right.
And I was like, it's like it's that slow build.
Right. Oh, yeah. You see it coming. Yeah.
Well, that was the second one was because that was something that was a reaction she wasn't expecting. Like, she wasn't trying to make you laugh.
Yeah.
So it was like that disconnect maybe. The first one, though, is interesting to me.
But for me, I'm like going, if it's something and it makes someone laugh, I'm like, oh, okay. That's good to know.
That's good.
Register, make them laugh.
Use that to my advantage later.
I was like, oh, man.
I think they're trying to communicate.
Sincere every time.
No, I think she's trying. This is my guess, and I don't know. She's trying to communicate with you, and she's frustrated. This is what I deal with my youngest. He loses his mind when he's trying to communicate something, but he can't convey it. So maybe something like that. Like what she was trying to convey to you was not get you to laugh, and that was frustrating to her. Maybe.
And they're still just as much as we're trying to figure out parenting, they're trying to figure out being a little person. So like sometimes, similar to what you're saying, they're trying to do a thing and it doesn't come out right either. So they have that like short circuit of nothing makes sense to them right then. But a lot of shit that they do is really funny when they screw it up. Like, I mean, it really is. It really is. And what do you do?
It never, gets old sometimes.
Yeah, my wife was like, don't correct him. I love when he says the wrong grammar. And I'm like, it's getting a little old, though.
Man. Mm-hmm. When she gets the sound of a pig right, I'm going to be so sad.
Yeah. Right. I know.
Because like we heard like at the start, oinks and quacks are basically the same noise every time, and her quack has gone much more clear and much more defined. Her oink isn't quite there yet. It's still my favorite of all the animal noises that she makes. She was like oink. And I'm always like trying to encourage
you. Gotta
to
record that.
I
you do, because I mean,
trying to catch it.
Words and phrases like,
and you hear there's a little more oink in it now. And I'm like going, oh, that's gonna be gone. It's fleeting.
Yeah.
It was M&Ms and marshmallows, the two words for me, because they're M&M's and marshmallows.
I forget like 90% of them.
That's what I'm saying.
I forget them.
She says fox and fork the same way, and it's the F word.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, and that's similar to the third word.
I say don't correct her.
No, I mean, like, Everly would call her drink her Nana forever. I mean, but those are the things that you forget as as time goes on. You're like, those
my wife remembers more of them.
That was a big thing during the pandemic because they had said, like, when every day is the same, you're not going to remember the details because there's no events. We're not going to have any events and stuff like that. So I started getting into this habit at night, like when we're getting ready for bed and stuff, asking my wife, what was your favorite moment with the kid today? and just kind of like talking about and kind of reliving these little
Right,
mini memories and stuff.
It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, it's an amazing idea.
Because, I mean, it's funny because I know what Delaney's first word was, and then everybody, like, what was my first word? I'm like, it's like after a while, some of those firsts.
Yeah, I've been trying to journal a little bit of it too.
Right, which is great because then you have that not only for them but for you, so that you can be like,
I made you cry.
You still have a young child, and maybe a second one coming. You can not screw it up the way we have.
Learn from all of our mistakes.
So my books, just real quick. I Love You.
We were talking about books.
No, it's cool. I was just going to give it to you. I Love You This Much.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That's good.
And then Delaney loved like these Disney books with counting in pairs, and it's kind of her. There was one where how many Finding Nemo, and they had all the fishes, and it was like, how many squids are there? How many are there? And then she had names for things, and when she would open the page, she was like, the roly poly, and so she just liked counting and things like
That's
that.
good.
Yeah. So that
Also, for anyone who has boys, I Stink is like Jim McMullen or something. Anyway, it's a garbage truck book. All my kids freaking love.
We've got
Garbage
one.
trucks. They love I Stink.
We've got one
Kids
about
are
a crack.
garbage trucks.
Yeah, we've got one about the crack in your butt. Like the kid's crack in his butt falls off. So like he has to try to make a new butt crack. I really enjoyed it.
Is that a Shakespeare play?
Yeah, most likely. I mean, he stole it from somebody. Other than that,
Based on
Loosely.
yes, loosely based on.
The crack of Verona.
I think I really like that idea of asking, like, what was your, like, what a way to be present, and what a cool thing for you and your wife to share too. Like, hey, what was your favorite thing today?
Well, and it's interesting that you guys do that for yourselves, because we do that for the kids. We pick them up, and it's like, what was your favorite thing at school today? What didn't you like? But we never do that for each other.
And I don't even know that we've even touched on that yet, like how important it is to have a parenting experience with whoever you're parenting with. And you don't even have to have the same outlook on parenting, but to just both be involved. Like for my wife and I, it's very 50-50. Like our kids don't really care. Like if they're upset, they don't really care who's there as long as one of us is there. And that, like when both girls were born, I took like 3 weeks off work and stayed home to just like have that same experience that my wife was having of getting up in the middle of the night, being dog ass tired, being miserable, but spending that time with both girls, getting up, feeding them, and watched a lot of Star Trek Next Generation and Sons of Anarchy. Maybe that's why my kids are so confused, but staying up and doing those things and like having a shared parenting. I know a lot of guys back home that have nothing to do with parenting their kids, nothing. And it's like, man, why are you missing out on that?
So I should have been.
Well, no, I want your kids to turn out okay. So Reagan probably should be mostly involved. But other than that,
Okay.
My wife is, I mean, she's better at it or more involved than me. I'm extremely involved, but she still takes it to another level where she treats them like equals, and she gets down and makes sure they're okay and talks out tons of stuff with them. And I'm not as good at it, and I'm proud of her. And I guess it's like, she's driven to do it even more than I am. And sometimes I'm more hands off and let them figure it out. But I thank God she does it all the time. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just being involved in some way is really important. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't want to paint myself as like
what were their names again?
I'm just saying she's super.
My wife just told me we have 3 kids. I didn't realize. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where's the other one?
I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like I said, my wife and I are both very different in our outlook toward parenting and our parenting styles and stuff. So I won't say it doesn't cause problems occasionally, but we're both involved, so it works out.
I think that's standard. I mean, everybody's got their own opinions. If it was, maybe there's some people that are married that have exactly the same parenting styles, but I doubt it.
Right. Well,
but is there one authority that overrules?
Oh God, no. Because that has caused problems before, and because they'll do that on purpose. The kids will do that on purpose. They'll ask for something and won't tell me that
they asked somebody.
The decision was already made. Mm-hmm. And then because we're different, my answer will be different. Mm-hmm. And then I'll find out later that they played us, and I'll be like, look, man, you can't do that. If mom said no, the answer is no, even if I don't agree with it. Like, she's already said no. we're not going to argue about it, because we try really hard not to argue in front of the kids too. And like, we're not, I mean, it doesn't always work, but you know, even if I don't agree with her saying no, I'm certainly not going to try to veto her in front of the kids.
Right.
Or,
I mean,
you know,
that's the thing. Don't argue about parenting in front of the kids, for sure, because then they're like, well, number one, they get the idea that maybe you're confused about what you're doing. Right. But number two,
they know that.
But then number two, like you said, they're like, okay, who can I play?
Right.
Who's open to this play?
And especially my youngest one, she knows she can play me. So she'll come to me and be like, hey, Dada, can I have such and such? And I'll be like, well, I guess so. She's like, okay, and she'll go do it. And then Jenny will be like, I told her no. And I'm like, fuck, how am I going to get out of this? You know? So yeah, it's tough, and it's a constant dance. I mean, but I used to think with the boys, like, no, I'm putting my foot down here. That did not go well. It was not healthy at home at all. Now, I know that my upbringing and the parenting or lack thereof that happened to me, the way that I parent is a direct result of that. Can you guys think of any formative things from when you were kids that either made you say, I will parent this way or I won't parent this way, either because it was modeled really well or because you're just like, I want to try something different?
Physical punishment isn't gonna happen.
Right. Same. Yeah. I mean,
Were you physically punished?
Oh yeah, my you know those green bamboo sticks that come with, like, when you buy like a plant at the supermarket.
Oh yeah.
So there was one of those that sat on top of the thing that rings when they push the doorbell, and you know, I got hit with that a few times.
And you were like, never, I'm not passing this on as you're getting hit.
I hate this.
At the time, I wasn't thinking about what kind of a dad I'm going to be.
Yeah. That's how it works in the movies.
I mean, of that generation, they're very much of like, I did it, or it happened to me and I turned out okay.
Sure,
that
right.
Kind of
Same.
like
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fine, but that's not going to be part of the relationship that I have with my daughter.
Yeah. I mean, I struggle sometimes with balancing what I grew up with as far as my parents being strict, my dad in particular, and how strict I am with my kids. I'm not nearly as strict, but then I'm like, are they missing out on some sort of discipline that, you know, self-discipline?
There's also this concern you get when a kid does something that actually scares you, like you said, when like the kid ran in front of the car and stuff like that. Like even when my dog runs out on the street or something like that, and I'm like, I see it like turn into like a physically violent, like it could very, like I get the because the fear and how that thing caught up, you're like going, don't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's just,
I think everybody yells in those instances, and I think it's totally permissive to yell and get freaked out so they can understand the importance of not doing that.
Well, like I was saying earlier, it's, you know, my oldest would say, well, I'm not afraid of you like I'm afraid of my teacher. Like, because my teacher might do something like give me a bad grade, and I sometimes wonder if I'm like missing. It's like, no, I don't want them to be afraid of me, but I
current understanding of good parenting says that's good.
It does, but you're also like,
why are you afraid of the teacher?
Fear of the bad grade.
Would you like some sort of ramifications? I don't want to do that.
But that's her also telling you, like, I know you will always love me. So, like, the fear is that the teacher will dislike her 100%, if she does something.
But when you're in the moment of disciplining your child and you're like, I am not going to resort to any physical or in general, I mean, it's like we tried taking away things from them at one point in time, and I'm such a softie that I'm like, you know, half an hour later, like, okay, you can have it back, type of thing.
Yeah, well, right now, like for me, it's like if the kid says the word, she gets what she asked for.
Right.
She's saying the word.
Yeah. But that's
smoothie. You want smoothie? Well, all right, let's
smoothie time.
That is the parenting philosophy in our house. Is if the kid says the words, they basically get it because they're supposed to learn self-control.
But that's what I'm wondering is for me, and my girls are awesome.
Yeah,
okay, they are very
good kids,
well regulated. But I always worry, like, they've really never had consequences, but thankfully I don't think they've needed them. But then I wonder if there's if later in life they're gonna like come to this rude conclusion that it's like, oh, there is negative things that can happen. And, I mean, I think my displeasure is enough for them.
So you just want to create some consequences even though they're not doing something wrong?
No, I mean, I
This is because you remember being disciplined and you think you're doing something wrong now because you're not disciplined.
It's like, I look at, and you guys probably all have had this, and most people at home would probably have this, is like, my kids will only eat certain things.
Oh, God.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, my dad's like, you eat that or you eat nothing.
Yeah.
And that was it, right? I can't do that because then they're like, for whatever reason, my brain's like, I want to say, no, that's all you have, but then they won't. And I'm like, what would I do?
So you make an alternative meal?
Most often.
Oh, okay.
I mean, but thankfully they only eat like 5 things anyway. So it's like,
I'm a short order cook, and so is my wife. Like whatever they need at whatever time.
Right,
It's
and
so annoying. If we had more discipline, then we'd have more control, and our lives would be
then
better.
it becomes, am I doing them a disservice in the future? Where it's like, that's not how life really is.
I mean, yes.
They'll learn it. They'll learn it. They've already learned it at school.
We kind of do. This is the meal, what we're serving, and she's at the age where sometimes she eats a lot, sometimes she doesn't eat anything.
Right.
And apparently that's just how it is at that age. So
Yeah, for sure.
So
I
we're
think
like
at
on
that
this, and then we
age-
see, and then so like that's the meal. She's like, okay, so maybe we'll try it again later and stuff like that. But we, in the moment of the meal, we don't offer an alternative. But then later, when she's hungry, we can offer her whatever. She's got pouches of food and all kinds of things like that.
That sounds good. Hold that line.
I mean, hold that line. I mean, I mean, I will say at that age, they were more open to eating pretty much anything. I mean,
Yeah, well, she's interested in what we're eating too. Like,
Exactly.
We tried for a little while where she would eat one thing, we'd eat something else. But she's like, want some? Want some? Wants to know what we're eating, whatever it is, and stuff like that. So then she starts getting interested in that.
It's a disaster at our house. I mean, like, my older daughter will eat anything, but like sometimes it's like, all right, if she's so naughty, it's like, all right, you need to go to bed. Just go to bed. Well, what about supper? I was like, no, you're going to bed. Wake up in the morning and hopefully we'll have a better day. And have I ever stuck to that once? Fuck no. I can't send her to bed without supper. She'll be hungry, so I'm like, I can't even stick to that. Or like if we're eating something and my youngest is super picky, she eats nuggies, pepperoni pizza,
noodles,
ramen. Yeah. Ramen. And there's something else SpaghettiOs, right? And it's like,
What was the last thing?
SpaghettiOs.
Skittles is a meal?
Well, that's Sunday,
fruit, right?
That's Sunday dinner. And I'm like, none of that is healthy. Like, there is not a healthy thing. There's not a vegetable in there. And, me as a kid, I liked vegetables. So it blows my mind.
Tomato sauce is a vegetable.
It depends on the tomato sauce, I think. It's a fruit.
No, Dan Quell told me.
Oh, okay, well, he also couldn't spell potato. So it's tough for me because I'm like, I liked vegetables when I was a kid. And one night, and this, like, I feel terrible about this. One night we had corn, and my youngest daughter does not like corn. And it's like a legitimate thing. She just does not like it. She's not being difficult. She doesn't like it. Well, I didn't know that. And so I'm like, you will sit at this table until you finish eating your corn. And so she didn't want to stay. So she takes a bite and then she threw it up, like, because she just did not like it. And if you don't think that comes up on a regular basis, like, she will bring that up. Remember that time you forced me to eat corn and I threw it up, Dad, and you were so mean to me? And I'm like, yep. And I was. And I'm sorry.
That parenting style, of like, you've got to do this, is like antithetical in our house.
We're trying to do that.
And honestly, like, for the most part, it's not a good.
Not trying to get them to finish.
It doesn't work. It's like there's the corn if you want it or not.
When we were going to clean plate club.
Oh my God. I'm still suffering from that.
I'm suffering from it physically.
Can I be excused? We'll eat a couple more bites of this, and then you can be.
I mean, I
still do it. I still like find myself wanting to do that, and my wife is sort of trying to parent me out of it.
Right.
But I remember being a little kid, 6-7 years old, at my grandmother's house in Brooklyn, and my great grandmother, and they all lived through the Depression. I was like eating breakfast in front of her, and I paused to take a drink or something, and I just hear, like, she thought I was done. I wasn't going to finish my meal, and I was like, and to this day, I can't. If I see anyone
without hearing it,
I don't hear it. But like, if I see someone wasting food,
I have a ridiculously unhealthy relationship with food, And I think that, one, because we didn't have any money when I was a kid, and like it was the idea of any of that food going to waste. And I'm still a reason why I love leftovers, because leftovers to me are just the same as a brand new meal, like because we had to eat leftovers on a regular basis.
Because you love not wasting food.
Right. And so what I want to have work, and it hasn't worked yet, is just like at least try everything. You don't have to like it. But even that's not working.
Because we do that too. It's like, try it, please bite type of thing. But my oldest would be like, this tiniest, smallest bite of anything. I'm like, you can't even tell if it's a sandwich, right? It's like, I just ate this little corner of bread,
Right. I know how you feel about bread. Eat the thing
exactly.
in the bread.
Now, try the actual thing together as a whole thing. Yeah.
And I don't want my kids to have a bad relationship with food. I mean, that's why I struggle. Like my weight yo-yos like crazy.
I don't want to pass that along.
100%. Like my dad was, once again, we didn't have a lot of money either. And so my sister and I still talk about it. It's like we would sit at the table and we would have things like liver and onions, which we hated, or like bean soup. And
who's serving that to kids? That's back in the day, yeah.
It's back in the day.
It's like a cartoon meal.
No, but not in Iowa. It's like Little Rascals. I'm just saying in Iowa it's not.
And there's some people who love liver and onions, and I can't.
With a nice tall glass of castor oil.
Well, I mean, honestly, I love fried onions, but when my sister and I would walk in the house and we'd smell fried onions, I'm like, crap.
I know what's with it.
And to the point where, we would, like my sister more than she would like take the liver, put it in her mouth, swallow it with milk, because she just hated it. Yeah. But then my dad, and this is he was like, okay, you can't have milk until you finish your liver. I'm like, why do you care? She's
as long as she's finishing it.
Yeah, and then for a while there was like, well, that we would feed it to the dog. But
progress.
And I don't want that for my kids. Right. But then I want to make sure that they have vegetables and they have a good, relationship.
Or at least have some kind of a basis to understand like what food is and like what's healthy and what isn't.
They're also gonna pattern your behavior. Like if they see,
I disagree.
Well, no, my kids are good about it. My wife has done a good job. They leave shit on their plate. They're like, I'm done, and I'm like,
oh yeah, I don't mind that.
I have to stop myself from eating it.
Yeah.
But
I don't
they
get quesadilla.
Yeah. I'm not hungry, but that is something through the help of my wife that we have successfully not passed on. But you were asking like things that you want to pass on or not pass on.
Right.
Like I had such a good relationship with my dad. And he was like my best friend, and so I was craving that with my boys, and now I feel like I'm the needy one. I'm like, you guys want to watch a movie? And they're like, no, we're good. And like once they got past a certain age, and so I want to have that relationship that I had with my dad with my kids, and I think I have it, but I'm not sure, and I can't. And
you're on the other side now, so you
other side know.
You don't know what their frame
I don't know what they're thinking.
Is.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
But you want to find a common activity. Yeah. To do with them, but you're also selfish. It can't be boring. You want to.
Well, that's the thing.
I want to enjoy it too.
I grew up doing every sport and all this, and my girls don't really care.
Same thing here.
So, every once in a while, like great now. Everly's into soccer because her friends are into soccer. I'm like, go.
Because it's what their friends are into now. It doesn't matter what you're into.
But like when I had Delaney when she was younger in t-ball. And she was the prototypical little girl watching butterflies in the outfield. It was like that's not her thing. And I was like, and so sometimes I'm looking for the same thing that I had when I was younger, and it does not.
But my dad had to get into the things I was into, or he read. But like I was into the New York Mets watching baseball games, and he didn't care about it, but he got into it because I was. And my wife keeps telling me, just get into what they're doing. I was like, I can't hang with them on the video games.
Oh yeah.
They're too good at it now.
My daughter wants me to take, my oldest wants me to take her, and I'm honestly consider up to San Francisco to see these triplets that are on YouTube. They have some sort of concert, and the tickets are like $90.
I mean, that's pretty cheap for a ticket.
But I mean, for YouTubers is all I'm saying. I mean, these are, and so it's hard. exactly your point. But I'm like, okay, I will probably do this so that I'm participating in her world.
Do you guys both feel like you're both actors? Do you have enough time to spend with the kids during the day? Do you feel it? Do you ever get worried that like I don't want to do that because I need me time and I need work time and I'm sorry I can't do that. I can't do the activity you want to do.
It depends on the day. I mean, honestly, it depends on the day. And
I mean, your kid's pretty young, so you're gonna devote what they need, and they need a lot.
And Jorge's busier than I am. But
there are moments where I sneak off to do some things that are whatever acting related like that, and my wife is there to cover, so it's not that. At the moment isn't that big a deal, and I've been so far lucky that the jobs I have done since the baby was born have been in town, all of them. So that's been great.
Mm-hmm.
But on any given day, working or not working, I find like there's not enough. Oh, I had dreams of like making a side project and making a movie or something, but I don't want to do that anymore because I don't want to spend any more time away from my family because it's hard enough making a living.
I think that's a valid feeling to feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely, once the baby showed up, it definitely was like going, oh no, this is what it's all about now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say for my end of things, I am coming to the other end of them needing me 24/7. I mean, they're in school, all this other thing. Yeah. So I feel more comfortable in doing things for myself now than I did before. But yeah, like, for the last 10 years, it's been like, I have to make sure that I have the time for them. And that may mean passing on, X, Y, or Z, especially if Reagan's teaching or whatever.
In many ways, everything I'm doing for them. Working a job, I'm doing for them.
Yeah.
And it's very much in our current home dynamic is my wife does most of the hands-on with the baby while I go, okay, I'm going to make dinner. I'm the one who does the cooking.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to go take care of this house issue or things like that, so those things can get done basically. And so there is this kind of like where I'm hanging out with the kid and it's great, and then I'm like going, okay, I need to step away now.
Yeah, that happens.
Take care of some things or do other stuff, just because in the back of my mind is just this notion of like I have to run the household as well, kind of things like that.
I don't like having that split attention when I'm doing when I'm with the kids. I wish I could just be 100% there with them and not think about I need to do something for me or the house or my career.
The biggest taste of that was when my wife went away for a while, and I brought my mom up to be another set of hands, basically, but it didn't quite live up to
it never does.
Yeah, exactly.
An extra dog was brought into the mix, and then there was also hosting my mom. So I was like, well, how is this? And make lunch for mom on top of it. So I was like going, maybe in the future, do other things, have a different plan. But also like basically being like, all right, that's it. I'm not rehearsing anything. I'm not working on anything. It's just, I'm just going to be the dad, and just the kid likes to hang out in her room with the lights off. And I'm like, all right, I'll do this. I sit on the beanbag.
Well, it was interesting because when his wife went away, we were like, oh, well, we can play some board
after
games.
She goes to bed, after the kid goes to sleep, you can come over and we'll play some board games and stuff like that during some days.
And then I hit him up like 2 days in.
Forget it.
He's like,
after
no.
she goes to sleep is when I'm doing dishes
He's
and
like,
washing
nope.
clothes and all that other kind of stuff.
What I find is what you've brought up is something I am struggling so badly with right now because, one, I work a job that I absolutely hate, right? So when I get home from work, I'm exhausted and I'm not present. Like I'm not a good...
You need me time.
Well, yeah, and I'm just not a good dad right now because I'm unhappy. You know? So then I immediately feel guilty if I do something for myself. But what we all have to acknowledge is you still have to do the self-care stuff, because if you don't do that, then you run the risk of, one, not being present when you are dealing with the kids, and two, that they're
shedding that negative outlook. Yeah.
Well, and there being some resentment, you don't want to resent your kids because you're not doing the things you want to do. So you have to find some kind of a balance, and that's what I'm terrible at.
No, it's like I agree. You gotta take the self-care time, but like at the end of the day, it's almost like, okay, I did my job, I did my self-care time. It's time to go to bed.
Right.
I don't have time for the kids.
Right. 100%.
This is terrible.
And like I said,
And your Xbox time. I mean,
right. I'm at a point right now where I'm not happy with the way that I'm handling it. Like I don't feel like I'm doing a good job. So I'm trying to find things. Like one thing that I do every night is I go when we put the kids to bed. My oldest daughter doesn't ask for it much anymore, but my youngest daughter wants me to go lay down with her. And she's like, can you come tuggle? And basically I just lay there with her until she falls asleep, which most nights is 10 minutes. Some nights it's an hour and a half,
Tuggle.
Yeah.
So it's
Snuggle
or snuggle
yeah.
or what?
It was just, she couldn't say the S when she was little.
Oh, so it became
tuggle instead of snuggle. Yeah. So and I enjoy that. Like I look forward to that part of the night, but at the same time, I'm laying there going.
Sometimes you're looking at your watch like, are you asleep yet?
Yeah.
Are you asleep? Yeah.
Can I go do this thing for 10 minutes? Because like you said, the finite amount of time in the day, by the time you get home, eat supper, make sure they get a bath, every couple days or once they start to stink, like.
So you bathe them?
No, make sure they do it. Like, hey, get in there and do it. And you just kind of have to make sure that
when they were younger and I was so like sleep deprived, I would go in for 10 minutes and then I'd fall asleep and the night would be over.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
I was like, I'm sitting there watching a TV show with her and realized I fell asleep on the couch sitting next to her.
Yeah.
Reading the book for the 800th time. You got the kid going like, Dad.
You need a hard, uncomfortable chair to sit upright.
Well, that's the other problem too, because we'll put them to bed, like especially because my oldest daughter struggles so much with her behavior. Like we'll put them to bed at like 7:00 because we know they're not going to fall asleep until 8 or 9, and my oldest daughter has to have like a solid 13 hours of sleep, or it's going to be hell on earth the next day. And so we'll get in there and I'll lay down, and even if she's like just kind of nodding off and I'm playing a puzzle game on my phone or something, by the time that whole process is done, I'm like, okay, well, I can't really get anything done now, and I'm just going to go lay in bed and watch an episode of Supernatural and fall asleep.
Did you have time with the kid though while you were both awake?
Not a ton. I mean, like it depends. I pick them up from school every day, so like we have like a solid hour where we like, we come home, we talk about their day and stuff. But even then, I still don't feel present. Like, and I know that it's not a magic bullet, but like I keep thinking to myself, if I can just get out of the line of work I'm in, and to where I'm not coming home just exhausted and angry because I spent a whole day doing shit I didn't want to do.
You pick them up from school and then go back to work?
No. I'm just, by the time I pick them up, I still don't feel present because I'm like,
still holding the day.
Yeah, still holding the day in my head. And I've done things to try to not, I don't take work home with me. I wear different clothes like home than I wear to work. Like it's weird shit. Like I'll try to do to like break that into two completely different parts of my day. But because I'm very, very unhappy at work, like it still lingers, and I feel like it's an extreme detriment to them, and that's on me. I mean, that's shit that I need to fix, because that's also not a normal way to feel. Like I shouldn't let it bother me as much as it does. That's on me. It's something I need to work on, but like
the dynamic's still there.
Yeah, it's still there and it's still happening. So that's why I say I'm really struggling with it right now. And I try to find little things to make it feel better, but then, it's 8:00 at night and I'm a grown ass man and I should be able to have at least 2 more hours where I could get some shit done. And I'm just like, nah. It's parenting, man. It's like just a constant juggling act.
You wanted to carry on the family name. You wanted the biological kids.
Yeah.
It's touchy to bring up, but is the job changeable?
He's got 6 years to his pension.
Yeah,
we talked about this last
6 years
night.
pension. I'll fill you in a little bit more when we're done. But like,
okay.
I mean, ideally, there's some things that could change it. But as like everything being equal, like what it is right now, if nothing changes in my life, it's not. But there are some things that could change it. So
6 years is long.
It is long,
it
especially in a kid's development
something
from
you hate to do.
Yeah.
Right, 100%, and that's where I'm torn.
So,
because I think about that regularly. I'm like, would it be better if I just made way less money
Right.
and was a better
Happier.
dad. You know,
Right.
like, is that something something I could do? You know, is that something could we
That's
live
a
that
decision.
way? Yeah.
I mean, you might not make way less money forever. You might find something you like and then it actually becomes remunerative. But some good word where you get paid
which would be
money.
great. I mean, you also have to consider like, and now this is the part where I make excuses because it's what I do. But like, you have to consider like where I live. Like, there aren't a lot of opportunities to make the amount of money that I make right now.
Mr. Hands.
Mr. Hands.
Yes.
I feel like
That sounds bad.
I feel like
Yes,
I'd have to register somewhere if I went by the name Mr. Hands.
There's Mr. Hands. Stay away from him.
Yeah, he's not allowed to be by the park, Mr.
Mr.
Hands.
Handsy.
Get some of that hands money.
Oh shit! I think we have really pointed out like how similar and different at the same time everybody's parenting experience can be, and that we're all just kind of people fucking our way through it. I mean, there's no science, you know.
I read a book.
Yeah, and how'd that turn out for you?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So people should definitely listen to this episode.
Yeah, well, I think if anything, to like realize they're not alone.
Right,
you know,
right,
like
right.
everybody, I think feels like they're like I don't get it. It's like, well, nobody does. Like, we're figuring it out along the way, and you know, you're going to make mistakes, and make sure that your kids know that you know it's a mistake, and make sure that they know that like, hey, I'm a person, and I screwed up, and I love you, and it's really the best we can do. Everybody, even the parents that you guys look at and you're like, man, they have got it all figured out. I guarantee they don't. They've done some dumb shit. They've made a mistake.
Parents on Bluey.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah. They're all happy and Australian.
And Daddy Pig from Peppa Pig.
He's my idol. What are you kidding?
It feels like he's a little checked out to me.
Yeah, but his kids love him because he's
They're ripping him all the time. Yeah, exactly. Notice how fat he is. he's not into it. And he says he's not into it. And he's still ripping on it. We'll call it Daddy's Big Fat Belly. Oh, that name sounds very silly to me. No, that's what we're calling it. Oh, boy.
At least they're not pointing out his alcoholism.
Well, that's what gets him smacked. Dad gets all sauced up and angry. Daddy Pig starts throwing hands.
Mr. Hands.
Yeah. Hopefully people get a little something from this and can realize that. I mean, I don't want it to sound like some kind of like terrible experience, but like that they're not alone. That like we're all struggling through
That's
this.
on me. I ended it on a downer. Is there enough time in life?
Well, I'm the one that's like, I hate my life. I hate my
from you,
job.
David.
I forgot. I thought that anecdote was so funny at the time, and now it's like so depressing.
No, it's funny.
Because like the younger one was like, "Why aren't you proud of me?" That's what he said. Why aren't you proud of me? That's
that
it was
makes
a
it
question.
darker. Yeah, that makes it
Why aren't you
darker.
proud of me? And before we were like,
why aren't you proud of me?
Yes.
Because in the story goes, are you proud of me?
yes, I fucked up the story.
Again, twice. 3 times.
You should do stand up, is what you should say.
I'm
Wait a
a
minute.
great
Let me go
podcast
back. I'm going to go back.
After the podcast is over and we leave, you just redo the story. Write it out.
We'll just read it.
Just edit the whole thing out.
It'll be all choppy, but it'll be the actual story.
And we were frozen. We were like, and in that moment where we were paused, Henry jumped in. He's like, they are proud of you.
Faster.
They're proud of you for almost getting hit by a car.
Did you laugh at that moment?
I think we looked at each other and we're like, and we did.
Were you still in your trauma of, oh no?
No, I
messed up.
think we started like laughing slightly, which is even worse.
It's worse, right? Wait a minute. That's how they really do feel.
I don't know if we laughed, but we like looked at each other. We're like,
I just want to point out that like when you first told the story, first of all, like it fell apart, and then the second time you're like, oh my god, this is really dark, and then right at the end here of the conversation, you're like, let me make it darker.
He goes, oh, I got it. I remembered it. There it is. And it isn't until it comes out of his mouth that he goes,
Oh, that's not it.
oh. I thought it was going to land.
I've done this before.
I thought it was going to land funny instead of dark.
That's exactly what happened. Yes.
It's like, I thought, never mind then. It was like
Fuck.
it's all right.
Like, oh guys, I also just thought of something here at the end. It was even worse than I said the first time.
It was just you were slower than your kid.
Yeah.
You gotta be quicker on.
I was
Of course, we're proud of you.
That's why I used to.
There is like.
I used to tell that story. Look how sharp my kid is. Look how fast he is.
And look at this other one that ran out in front of a car.
Like I said last night, I need to check the final edit.
I don't think this paints you in a bad. This makes you look very empathetic. It makes you look empathetic because you're like, oh, I feel terrible about the way this went down.
Okay.
I don't think it makes. I mean, we're all making fun of you. It makes us all look bad. But like,
We're not making
you're a
fun
good
of the
person.
situation. We're making fun of his ability to tell a story.
Well, guys, thanks for coming on. We could probably talk for another at least 5 minutes, and it's been fun.
Yeah, thank you for sharing what you do as far as parenting goes, or what you don't, David. Whatever however you want to look at it. Really appreciate you coming in and being so candid and sharing. I like this round table type.
Literally.
Yeah.
This table is round.
It is round. It is perfectly round. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, I see. Because normally it's 2-on-1.
Well, it's 2-on-1, and it's maybe more focused on what a person's doing in their life as opposed to just like we're all sharing an experience.
Yeah.
It's more about your accomplishments and your failures.
Oh, gosh.
That's the difference.
David, Jorge, thank you very much for joining us here, and thank you for what you do.
Thanks.
Sure.
David, Jorge, thank you very much for joining us here, and thank you for what you do.
Thanks.
Sure.